What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Survivor Now podcast. My name is Randy, and today, as always, I am joined by my two wonderful summer co-analysts, co-hosts, however you want to say it. First off, I will start with the ever so wonderful Cara. Cara, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm, having a good day. How are you guys doing?
Outstanding. The hair's looking amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you do anything different? Like, is it just it looks more curly today?
I curled it a little bit before we got on.
Here I want.
I touched it up a little bit.
It looks great, and I
Thank
can't
you.
leave out Will. Will, you got the stash going over there. You think I'm not gonna compliment you, my man?
I mean, I think the mustache is like the last thing you would compliment. You know, not the beach hair, not the beanie, not the Malcolm fit. Just the poorly grown mustache.
No, I mean if I said something about your hair, then people would be like, he's just doing it because he complimented Cara's hair.
Well,
and so I had to do something unique. And
fair.
what are you talking about? It's a solid stash. What are you talking about?
I kid. I actually had a fun day today. I got lost in the woods. And so my survivor skills were put to the test. Me and my friends, we took a wrong turn on a trail. And years of playing online survivors taught me how to like vote out my friends, not what to do. So
so you were prepared for it.
I was prepared, bro. I was already doing my social game. I was having the one-on-ones. Well, I was over.
I was a little worried for you. I didn't know if you were going to show up to the podcast today because of the episode that you were saying this is an episode that you weren't looking forward to. And I'll start with you first. We'll talk about, obviously, we'll go from the beginning of the episode to the end in kind of order of the events. But what did you think kind of rewatching this episode back? Was it as bad? Was it as bad as you said it was?
So my problem is if I'm allowed to cut to the chase to spoil the ending of the episode, am I allowed to do that, Randy?
No, you do
Cool.
you.
So Malcolm is one of my favorite all-time characters. Survivor Philippines is also one of my favorite seasons of all time. And so to see Malcolm go home really early, because I know he came back in Caramoan, but like I wanted to see the fleshed out. I wanted to see him fleshed out, Malcolm. I wanted to see him a few years down the line. A lot smarter, a lot more mature, whatever. I wanted to see Malcolm like thrive in this game, and he was doing well too. But JT doesn't know what he's doing. All right, he doesn't have Stephen Fishback with him.
No. Don't put this on JT. I've got something to say about this when we get to Tribal Council. Because I don't think this is JT's fault whatsoever. Cara, what did you think? Because we were trying to have you guess who would go home. Obviously, you didn't guess Malcolm. And we were like hyping this episode up about like, oh my God, get ready, Cara, get ready. Did we overhype it? Or was it an episode that you were like, holy crap, did not see that coming?
I mean, going into it, I didn't expect it to be Malcolm. And like the tribal council was crazy. Like that was a live tribal. I mean, maybe my opinion would have been different if I've seen Malcolm on like previous seasons, but I don't know. I thought it was gonna be like a Sandra or something going, like one of those
a
names.
2-time winner, like you would expect it to be like a Sandra type situation going home.
Yeah. And it should have been.
There should have been there should have been so many better candidates to go home than freaking Malcolm. It was like a weird and we're gonna get into all that, why we think it was Malcolm and all that. If you are watching, feel free to join in our live chat, Ancient Voices. If you are viewing this on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Do all that good stuff. Share the video with your friends. If you are listening to this on Spotify, go ahead and leave us a rating. We greatly appreciate it. And make it a 5-star one at that, if you possibly could. Appreciate you guys. And obviously, check out all our content on SurvivorNowPodcast.com. Okay, let's get to some of these comments before we actually get into the thick of things. Daryl is here. Malcolm goes. It's super sad. Kens adds in Rip King Malcolm. Georgette's in the chat. Hi, my favorite people. Hello.
Shout out to you, Georgette.
And Daryl adds in Queen stays Queen. So, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to I don't know how long this podcast is going to be. It might be one of the shorter ones just because I feel like, and I'm interested to get your guys' opinion on this. I felt like the start of the episode did not have much going for it. It almost felt like an episode where Survivor was like, okay, this has to be an hour longer, 40 minutes with commercials, however you guys want to look at it. We got to put something there. We got a lot of like knick-knack. How important is this stuff at the very beginning? Like we start Mana night 9. Ty basically believes he made the right move. He's feeling confident, all of that. Then we skip to Mana day 10, and it looks like Haley is going to be the next easy vote. There's nothing she can do, and we kind of hear that from a few people. And I think the whole Haley situation was something, one of the biggest things that took place this episode, because I feel like Culpepper had a really bad social episode. Some of the stuff he did, like trying to convince Haley to get on their side, was very questionable. And so we're going to get into that as well. But let's start with the reward challenge, which is they're playing for iced tea, coffee, and cookies. How excited? See, this is the stuff we don't talk about when we're like covering a normal season. We're in our normal routine, but we have these fun conversations during the off season. How excited would you guys be for this iced tea, coffee, cookies reward? Cara, would you be like pumped, or would you be like, it's just not really for me? So,
I think I'd be kind of like, like I'd probably be excited to have like cookies, but like I don't know if I'd really want coffee while I'm out there. You know,
how long is the
don't
coffee
know.
going to stay good?
Yeah, like I feel like that's one of the last things I would want as a reward.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm a caffeine guy. I love my energy drinks. I drink one all the time. One every day. And so I feel like I would be really excited for like the caffeine and dopamine rush, you know, when I'm starving on an island and I'm like, oh, I get my caffeine back. But at the same time, it's like I'm not a big coffee or tea guy. And so I don't know. I feel like it's the start of like the Survivor rewards getting smaller and smaller and smaller. You know, like this feels like a new era reward.
Oh my gosh, it does.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking with second place gets just the iced coffee. I was like, do we think I could have negotiated with Jeff Probst? Because I would have been like, Jeff, I don't need the coffee. I really don't. Could I switch it out for the cookies? Do we think that Daddy Probst would do that for me?
Maybe one cookie.
I think
like a single cookie.
Just once. Like, here you go,
Randy. With the other tribe, could you go over and be like, hey, I'll trade you. I'll get all the cookies, but you get all of the coffees. And then they save it for the next challenge where they just chug iced teas and coffees and just get super pumped.
I just don't. That was and someone said in the chat, they said, let's see, Ken's adds in hot coffee on a hot island. Like it was iced coffee though. Like it was iced coffee. It was iced.
But is it watered down? You know, like
probably. Like it's just sitting. And while they're doing the challenge, which I assume is not a short challenge, I don't know. Maybe they took it back and put it in like a cooler or a fridge, so it was ready to go for them, and it was actually cool. But like, I mean, or was it just baking in the sun during this challenge? Because this seemed like a relatively long challenge.
Or it could be one of those things where like that was like the for show reward, and then like those coffees were just given to like camera crew, and then they had like a duplicate that was nice and cool. I feel like that would make sense. Can we get like Abraham back in chat so he can clarify? Because I'm always curious about like those kinds of rewards where it's like it's just baking in the sun. Like it would make sense if they had a backup or duplicate that they ship off.
I'm going to stand up for myself here. Not a coffee or tea guy, fence-sitting coward. Hey, I will own up. I don't like coffee or tea personally. But that's just give me some cold water, Jeff. I'll be fine with that. Cara, you had something to add in?
I'm a type A or type C.
Oh, I was going to say, we see them in this episode like going up to the table and taking the things off of it. Like was that for show?
Oh, I don't know.
I totally missed that.
I probably only caught that because I watched this episode twice, but I noticed them going up to the table and like taking the things off of it.
Wait, did you
Oh.
watch it last week and then rewatch it before this? So
Yeah, I watched it again
you did
today.
watch it immediately after the podcast.
I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I did.
She told us, she was like, "Oh, RFP Malcolm, I guess." Dude, I'm like, dude,
No, the
You
commitment.
need to know.
Picasso, the commitment. So Nuku wins reward here. Mana comes in second, but Mana had a huge comeback. We saw that Ty was struggling in this challenge, and it was Troyzan, your boy Troyzan, Will, with the arm doing like the side little throw. And we heard Culpepper say, "Hey, Ty, if you get up here, I can get us back in this challenge. I can catch us up." And I believed him. I was like, "Oh, I fully believe that." This is a super fun, entertaining like challenge to watch, I believe. Like, I know we don't have to spend too long on the challenges, but Will, I'll go with you because your boy Troyzan, I mean, he's my boy too.
Yep.
But like he lost the challenge. Okay, no, I should phrase it like this. Was this Troyzan losing the challenge, or was this Brad Culpepper bossing this challenge? Which one was it?
Yeah, I don't want to pin it all 100% on Troyzan because I feel like Troyzan's just not a physical player.
I
Like,
was shocked that they chose him to do the second
Like-
half. I was kind of shocked.
He's not like a slouch by any stretch of the word, but he's not like this crazy physical player. On a tribe with Ozzy, you know, like I don't know. I just feel
Ozzy
like
can't do everything.
Ozzy can do everything. That's his shtick. You tell me
No,
Jonathan Young can
you
do
had to
everything?
have two people, though. That's what I'm saying.
Look, Michaela could do everything in that one challenge. All right.
Oh, I
If
totally
you know,
forgot.
you
Yeah,
know.
Michaela could have easily done the first part. Cara, what did we think about how this challenge kind of played out? Was this more on Troyzan, or was this an incredible performance from Culpepper?
I mean, Culpepper did great. Like he caught up so quickly. They were so behind. Where I think Troyzan had so much time that he could have just knocked those two down. Like he got all the rest easily. What was wrong with the last two that he couldn't get them? I feel like it's kind of both. Like Brad
I don't know.
did a great job catching up. Troyzan, I don't know. He fumbled at the end.
A little fumble. I would be super. I'm sorry, Troyzan. I'm going to use the word embarrassed. Like I would have my hands like.
No.
And this wasn't even, you could argue this wasn't even the biggest fumble this episode. We'll get to the second challenge. This was the episode of fumbling challenges away. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Let's see. Daryl says Brad is a beast. Ken adds in, I mean, Culpepper is a freaking NFL
Thank you.
athlete. What do we expect here?
Yeah, you just think Troyzan, like Troyzan's a physical guy. He's no slouch, but like he's not a physical player.
He just had such a big lead, though. That's the thing. He had a massive lead. Like Cara said, I'm pretty sure he had two left when Culpepper still had like 6 or 7.
Well,
and then
I'm
we see
just saying,
Culpepper go 1,
this is
2,
the same
3.
same world where a turtle beat the hare in that race
Oh,
thousands
don't-
of years ago.
Oh,
All right. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
We're bringing up a storybook analogy. Will, that's a new low.
Wait
for
until
you,
the
my man.
SpongeBob references, bro. I'm locked and loaded.
After that, Tavua, we go back day 10. We see Ozzy catching some fish. I say it like that because, like I said, there were some moments this episode. I was like, man, we are really trying to stretch this out to an hour-long episode. I'm telling you, because it wasn't even like, yes, like I love seeing camp life, but it wasn't even anything super important. Like he caught a ray, some type of stingray or something. And like Ozzy was like, yeah, losing these reward challenges is good because that means they have to use me more. I don't know if that I don't know if winning coffee and tea and stuff means they have to use you more because you drink that stuff in a day and you move on with how you've been doing everything. But let's move to Nuku on day 10. Sandra feels in control. This is something that we've been seeing all season. The Nuku vibes are great. Everybody's jamming. JT, obviously the odd man out, but he's forming a relationship with Malcolm here. So, Cara, I'll go to you. What stood out to you more? How secure, confident Sandra felt with her standing in the tribe, or this interesting relationship that we're getting with Malcolm and JT, kind of two physical threats that are kind of coming together to be like, hey, I got your back here.
I mean, I think that makes sense. I think what stuck out to me more though is Sandra thinking she's in such a great spot. Like everyone is just gonna do what she says and fall in line. Because I was thinking like, is that really the case? Like why would people do that? You know, why are people just gonna blindly follow Sandra? They know she won twice. Like what's the point?
So you're very
don't get
big
it.
on like get Sandra out day one type situation. Like why is she still in the game?
Not to be a hater, but like why? Like why?
Cara
I just don't
hating on
understand.
Sandra. This is
I
not
know,
a-
I know.
Don't hate.
This whole episode, Cara even sent us a text, by the way, in the group chat, like, I hate Sandra. Why did they not vote her out?
No.
I'm about to go on the island myself to vote her out.
Are you
Someone
still
get rid of
mad
her.
Sandra didn't choose you in Expedition?
No, I didn't want to be on
Yeah.
Sandy's team.
Yeah.
The hate is real. All right, we'll come back to the hater over here for Sandra. Will,
No
what stood out
hate.
more to you, Malcolm or JT's Malcolm and JT's relationship, or Sandra feeling in control? Because Cara has a good point here. A lot of people just seem like with Sandra, they're fine keeping her in the game. It's almost like if she does make it to the end, no way is she going to beat me because she's already won twice. They seem totally fine leaving her in.
So I think I feel like the Sandra plotline is just way more important because I think there is legitimate merit to keeping Sandra around. First of all, she won twice, but she also, I feel like her game is more well known and more studied than every other winner because she is the first one to do it twice. I feel like she's a much more known entity in the game, especially with how she plays, especially with how vocal she is about how she plays. Sandra kind of coined the anyone but me floater strategy in Survivor. She was kind of the king of that. And so I feel safer keeping Sandra around because I know her strategy, I know how she operates, and I also know she can't win challenges. And so it's like, because of that, it is, you can argue that she's not the biggest threat there. I also think it's really important from a narrative standpoint because this is not how Sandra plays. She is actually in control and understanding that, you know, in Pearl Islands and HVV, it's like she's in the game and she's in the flow, but she's not dictating any votes. Sandra's playing a way more aggressive game here, which I think is even more impressive. How long does that last? I don't really know. I won't spoil for Cara.
Well,
But
that
I
was
think-
going to be my next question. Oh, go ahead and finish, and then
I
have
was
a
just going to
question
say,
for you.
like, I do think Sandra is way more important because as important as the JT and Malcolm line was, it kind of started and then died this episode. So
So sad.
I
Absolutely.
am too.
Cara, like, okay, how long do you think Sandra has in this game? Like, if I was like I know where she ends up finishing, obviously, for this season, but I was looking at it as like, okay, who's on this tribe that I do not see flipping on Sandra whatsoever throughout this entire game? And I'm looking at it, I feel like Varner is someone who would follow Sandra to the very end. He just gives me those vibes. So, like, coming from someone who doesn't know, you know the winner this season, but you don't know who exactly goes where and all that, how far do you see Sandra going this season? Or is that something that you do know?
Well, I feel like I heard something about a day 16 curse or something like that.
No,
Is that
doesn't ring a bell. Doesn't ring a bell.
That's for
We're-
Runners
maybe
at
day
War.
16?
We're on day 10,
don't
by the
know.
way.
No, we're on day 17, guys. It's new
I have
era
no
season,
idea
don't
what day
forget.
it's at, but I don't know. I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised if she goes far, but also like, I mean, what Will said made sense. Like, you know how Sandra is, you know how she's playing, you know what you're getting. If she goes to the end, are they really going to give someone $1 million for a third time? Like, probably not.
I
So,
will.
Would you guys even risk it? If you
I
guys
would.
are playing with Sandra, are you going to risk taking her to the end?
I would.
I don't know.
I
I guess it depends who else is there.
Yeah.
Cara, we know you have a vendetta against Sandra.
Yeah,
There's no way
you
she
haven't
makes it
lied to
past-
us.
Cara, day one is going to be like, guys, I think we
I'm-
should vote Sandra.
I mean, it would be satisfying to beat her though in the end, right? So maybe.
I cannot wait till we get Sandra on this podcast and her and Cara
Oh,
are just going to be going at it the entire episode. Sandra's going to be like, this is why I did that. But Cara's going to be like, yeah, but did it make sense?
And then Sandra's going to retort back like, oh, you're the same person who had that crackpot idea in episode 1 of tying a vote.
it made sense.
I'm here for the ultimate Survivor 50 rivalry of Cara versus Sandra. Let's see. We got Ken's ads in the chat. True, but I feel like keeping her around would just be such a new. Yeah, you know, she lays on her spot all day. Yeah, and skates by to the end. Yes, Sandra is entertaining as hell, but I don't think she's the best player. I mean, there is that verdict out there of Sandra is overrated. It's something that we've heard before. Depends what side of the spectrum you are on. Daryl adds in, Sandra's game in season 20 is awful. She does nothing except one thing. And then Cara is like one of those Boston Rob haters, aka Johnny Fairplay, the ultimate Boston. It's just an amazing rivalry that we have. No, honestly, Sandra, if you're watching, Cara loves you. We're just joking.
Sandra.
So let's go to the immunity challenge. And look, Will said maybe I should hide this, but I will own up to it. I guess I haven't seen this. No, I have seen the season, but last week on the podcast, I was like, ooh, this week we have two people going home. That's not the case. In the preview for this week's episode, we did see that only one tribe was going to be immune, and the 2 other tribes were going to have to go to tribal council. So I made the assumption, you know, not really remembering everything that happened back when the season aired, of, 2 people are going home. No, because then the announcement is made after they chose who to sit out, which I thought was interesting. I think they should have made the announcement first and then did the decisions on who sits out. But wait, no, it was after the challenge that they announced it. Yeah, they said 2 tribes are going to tribal council, and the 2 tribes are only going to vote out one person. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. Are we a fan of this twist?
I don't mind it.
Almost, man. It's so close to being perfect.
I like this because I do think a lot of times they vote 2 people off way too much. I'm actually not a fan of voting 2 people off in an episode, to be honest with you. But I liked this because it caused chaos, and I kind of like it more that they did not go back to, and we'll get into who won and everything. I kind of like it more that they did not go back to one beach and have time to strategize about who's going home, because then it creates this interesting dynamic of, you know, do we stay strong with our tribe, or, you know, do we just flip back over there not knowing what they're going to do? And it creates, and something we're going to talk more in depth later on in this podcast, it creates one of the first live tribals that we've seen in Survivor, one of the first in my memory in terms of like when they started to happen, because you even saw Jeff at tribal council be like, what was that? Now if a live tribal happens nowadays, he's just like, no, this is normal. We see this a lot. Will, fan of this twist, fan of how it played out?
No, I feel like they should have time to go on one beach and to kind of operate, because I feel like because it's a live tribal, nothing that happens in this episode really matters until you get to tribal. This episode had that problem where it's like it was so much filler content because there was nothing for them to set up, right? Yes, it's Hallie's on the outs. Yes, you know, Sandra's the kingpin and JT and Malcolm are tight, but we got that plotline of JT and Malcolm being tight and Haley being on the bottom, but none of that mattered because what ended up happening was JT, you know, flipped the boat or leaked to Brad.
Did he? We keep disagreeing.
Okay, enough in a way. We'll get to it later. We'll argue. Who cares? I feel like that twist kind of makes the episode very awkward to edit. I think if they had time to go on one beach, I think it would be a really good twist, because I feel like it's just like a one-off tribe swap, and I think that could be really cool. It's kind of like the Mergatory now, in a sense where it's kind of chaotic, but alas, we had to get this version, which sent JT or not JT, which sent Malcolm packing.
I just want you guys to know I had to beg Will to come on the podcast today. He was so distraught and so heartbroken. It was going to be just Cara and myself. And Cara didn't know if she was coming on because we were talking about Sandra this episode. So it was so close to just being me. Cara, I'm a savage today. I'm on.
I know, Jesus.
Cara, what do we think about this twist here?
I like the twist. I like the twist of the two tribes going to tribal council. I kind of am going back and forth on if I would have liked them to all go back and have time to discuss before tribal council, or if them just going and then having to talk about it there is like the best. I don't know. I feel like I agree with what Will said. Like nothing really matters before it until you get there, because nothing's gonna stick until you're there and seeing what everyone else is saying. Maybe like a little time ahead would have been nice to be able to strategize with the other tribe.
Yeah. So maybe have like your separate tribe time and then maybe like just a couple hours where you all could come together. I think that would be very interesting. I think that's something they definitely could do. Also, I was having nightmares when I did the wide eyes of back Gargoyle Jeff. Remember that where he's like this?
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh Lord, what was that? Is that 45 or 44? It's already blurring together. Or 46. Might have been 46.
I don't think it was 46. I think it was 45.
I think it was 45, if I remember correctly.
45. I don't know, man.
So Nuku were way ahead in this challenge, but they end up kind of choking this away at the end. It was their caller who was Varner. Kind of, I don't even want to say he choked this away. Like he got them such a huge lead. And I always have respect for the callers because we saw like Culpepper really struggling. Like he sounded loud, but I think his voice just doesn't translate when he's screaming. It kind of gets all mushed together. Interesting question. Would you guys want to be blindfolded? You have to compete in this challenge. Would you want to be blindfolded or would you want to be a caller?
Blindfolded.
Yeah, I'd be blindfolded. Turn my brain off. All I want to hear is, "Hey, Will, go left." I'm like, "Yes, chef," and then I walk left.
So you guys are taking like all the damage, like when you're blindfolded, you're running into stuff and you're like taking hits, and people are dropping stuff on your foot. Like you're willing to do that?
I think it's better than
being
Randy? For losing because you're the caller.
Yeah,
I think I would be the caller. I think I'd be one of the best callers in Survivor history. I'm just going to say I got a very, very loud voice. It's very difficult not to hear my voice.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's like high pitched a little bit too. So when I'm screaming, you're going to hear me.
Kind of nasally as well. You kind of talk up here.
I do. I have like a nasally, very unique nasally voice. Like you know when Randy is talking.
Yeah.
And then
bumper sticker.
I'm gonna get it tattooed on my arm. But let me see. So Tavua comes back, wins. Great for them. Mana was never really in this challenge, to be honest. Great job to Andrea for clutching this up and bringing them back in this. Powerful moment for her. So we go back to the Nuku tribe, and this is where our discussion on the episode really begins, because this is when the strategy talk begins. So what I put in my notes, Nuku has a numbers advantage. They have 6. The other tribe has, was it 6 and 5 or 5 and 4? I think it was 6 and 5. 6 and 5. So theoretically speaking, if the entire Nuku tribe sticks together, they have the numbers. They can determine who goes home. JT is the only person they have to worry about. And Sandra throws out the idea, hey, we need to vote Sierra out. I think Sierra is a strong player. I don't think they'll see it coming. If they do have an idol, I don't believe they'll play it for Sierra. While JT really seems like the only one who wants to vote out Ty. Ty is a very strategic threat. He doesn't want Ty finding the idol. Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this a good comparison for Ty? I know I'm going to get some hate because they kind of look the same. But Ty and Yao-Man, I feel like there's some. No. You don't think so?
I think
they're both good at finding idols. They're both the nicest people you could ever meet. Like,
yeah, I mean, I feel like you could stretch it, But then I feel like you can just think of like every old person good at finding idols on Survivor, you know? I feel like Yao-Man was a lot more strategic than Ty. I feel like Ty, again, he's a character on Survivor. I feel like Yao-Man was always more of a strategic force, especially with Earl Cole. Both players extremely underrated, by the way. Shout out to Survivor Fiji, and shout out to Anthony from Fiji, whose birthday was either today or yesterday. We love you, man.
Oh, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday, Anthony. No. I feel like, yeah, you can stretch it, but I'm trying to think of like a better comparison to Yao-Man. I feel like, not Yao-Man, to Ty. I feel like he's like a Fabio in a way, but not really. Like kind of a goofball, you know, not really strategically there, but also a part of the game. You know what I mean? Where I'm getting at.
I know what you're saying. I still have not seen Fabio play. It's still in one of those seasons that like I haven't seen.
People in the chat, do you know who Fabio is?
Do you agree with Will? Ken's adds in. I feel like Yao-Man had a better grip on the game. Okay, that's definitely fair to say. What are we thinking here, guys? What's the better move? Like, if we're a lot of this season, we've been putting ourselves in situations, or I've been forcing you guys in these situations of being like, "What would you do?" But people are saying Sierra. People are saying Ty. This is obviously a very crucial vote. You need everyone to stay strong together. Will, don't you laugh at that comment. Okay.
yeah. It's his iconic moment, man. I can't deny Fabio.
I just love the people on Spotify who they're just listening to me talk about strategy, and then they just hear me say, "Don't you laugh at that?" And they're like, "What the hell's going on?"
Yeah, you have to watch the video, man, to find out.
What's the better option here? Because I actually think Sierra would have been a terrific move. So I'm still on Sandra's side here. JT and Malcolm obviously believe that they're going to vote Sandra for obvious reasons. Like two-time winner, that's probably the easiest way to talk Nuku into voting who you want to vote for, is be like, guys, let's just vote out the $2 million winner over here. Cara, what did you make of all this strategic talk? Was there one that made an option that made more sense to you?
I think Sierra did make sense. I think that was a smart move, and that would have been a smart way to go. Ty, I don't know. I didn't think it would be necessary really to go for him at this point. I mean, if like JT was set on that and he was like, I'm doing this and nothing else, then okay, maybe all of them just do Ty, and then they have JT on their side, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Sierra probably would have been the best move.
Yeah. I agree 1,000% with that. And then we go over to Mana, and Debbie wants to vote out Sandra, and you're like, oh, okay, this makes sense. This is what Nuku thinks is going to happen. And we'll get into the Ty situation in just a second. But what I want to talk about is, and we can go a little bit ahead to Tribal Council. We're going to look ahead, but this is where I think Culpepper started to really have a bad game, because he's sitting. They're talking about who they're going to vote for. And just like JT with Nuku, how everybody's nervous about whether he's going to stay Nuku strong because of the post-tribe swap, people are worried about Haley and whether Haley is going to stay strong with Mana. And I feel like Mana is less confident in Haley than Nuku is in JT, because I feel like Mana is like, there's no way Haley doesn't jump back over and vote with them. I don't think this is a great way to get someone on your side, to look at them across the fire and go, hey, blue eyes, right? Yeah. You're voting with us. And I was like, I immediately kind of had this look on my face of like, if someone said, hey, brown eyes, I'm like, I have a name. You've lived with me for 3 days. I definitely have a name. And then he goes on in Tribal Council and says, he threatens her basically in Tribal Council. If she doesn't vote with us, she's going to be public enemy number 1 and no one will work with her. And Haley's just like, yo, man, like that is not what you need to be saying to try to convince me to work with you. Will, I mean, I feel like we've had a conversation about Culpepper before. Like, I think we enjoy watching him play this game, but how bad of like alliance management, whatever you want to call this, or trying to recruit, how bad recruitment was this on his part?
I mean, I'm very surprised. Brad Culpepper got so lucky this episode, man, because like everything about this episode should have been against Brad Culpepper with how he treated Haley, the fact that the other tribe had the numbers, the fact that Ty didn't have the idol until like the day of. Brad Culpepper should not have won out this episode. Like, first of all, I will say, like, Brad Culpepper, like, I really love watching him play because of how bad he is socially. He plays a very aggressive game, and I mean that really sincerely, because I love watching players who are really good in one area but really bad in the other, because it makes them more compelling and more like grounded. And so I really, really like Brad Culpepper that way. I also like Troy Zan in a very similar light, because I feel like Troy Zan isn't a perfect player, but he feels more realistic than like the perfect player, right? That's just me. But it was interesting watching Brad treat Haley that way, but also have Haley. Did Haley vote with Brad Culpepper?
Oh,
Right?
I should. Okay, I will say I was rushing to watch it because I was out all day. Got home, had to watch it really fast,
Yep.
and then I had something to do afterwards. So I missed the votes. Usually, that's the one thing. If you guys have ever heard me talk about Survivor, I don't know what it is. I kind of my mind shuts off at Tribal Council. Tribal Council is not my favorite thing in the world. Like, I kind of just want to get past the talking and see who they vote out or what ends up happening. But the one thing that I do pay attention to is I always pay attention to who voted who to try to see those dynamics, and I missed that this episode.
Yeah, it's basically all the Mana were on Sierra, all the Nuku were on Malcolm, or the other way around.
So Haley voted.
Haley
Malcolm,
voted Malcolm.
Oh,
which is really, like, again, super lucky, man. I'm still
Cara,
mad. I'm still mad.
I mean, if someone looks at you and goes, we already complimented your curls, but if someone goes, "Hey, curls," you're with like, is that automatically going to like shut you off immediately and be like, "Excuse me"?
Yeah, I mean, I just didn't understand why he was calling her like by Blue Eyes. Like, he knows her name, unless he forgot her name, and that's why he was doing it. I don't know. I thought it was weird. He doesn't have the best way of speaking to people. And he would have been great going home this episode, honestly. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Would have been much happier than Malcolm. We love you, Brad, but
yeah.
we wanted Malcolm.
Look, I gave my piece on why I love Brad Culpepper, but if I had a choice between Brad Culpepper and Malcolm, I'm picking Malcolm, dog.
Well, this leads to wait, before we actually get to Tribal Council, Cara, I'll go back to you. We have someone finding an idol this episode. Ty goes looking for the idol just because he's nervous about this vote. He thinks it could give the Mana tribe some much needed reassurance going in, an idol that they can use to their advantage, which is brilliant thinking. Finds the clue, makes the X, digs it up, and finds the idol. Like, what was going through your mind when you saw this play out? Because I'm sure Will obviously knew how this episode plays out. Did you think they were for sure going to play it at this Tribal Council? Were you shocked that he was able to find it? What was going through your mind watching this play out for the first time?
He's great at finding idols. Like,
so good
for him. I think playing it, I think everything, like him telling them, then playing it and everything, I think that was great for him. I think that shows like he trusts his tribe and that he wants to help them. He wants them to stay strong and everything. So I think that was a great play.
He's guys, he's a better person than I am, because I'm not helping anybody with my idols. I'm just sorry. Especially if I spend hours looking for it and I find one, I'm not helping anyone with it.
No, but he'll probably just find another one. He knows how to find them. He can use it and then maybe just get another one, I don't know what happens, but maybe.
I think it makes sense.
You're not getting anything from these poker faces. Nope.
Yeah, but, okay, so Randy, yeah. So you go to your tribe, like, nothing. And then what? They get scared at the tribal council and they flip on you. I feel like because Ty showed the tribe that he had the idol, it unified them when they were down in numbers. It gave them a reason to actually stick together against a majority. That is huge in Survivor. I personally am against telling people like, "Oh, I have an idol," but I do think there are rare circumstances. I think this was one of them. I know I don't give Ty a lot of credit in Survivor in terms of gameplay. I love Ty a lot, but this was a really good move on his end, and I think we shouldn't just chalk it up as don't tell people about the idol, because I think this was the objectively right move.
Why'd you give me the silly voice when you said that? Oh, don't talk to me.
You always say that every podcast. You're like, every time someone they say, oh, I'm going to show them this player of the idol. I want to build trust. I feel like I can trust this person. Randy comes on this podcast. Guys, have to stop telling people.
I am starting to embrace my role of the I don't want to say negative Survivor person. I'm becoming the hater of everything. I have my hot takes.
There's ways to play it.
I have my hot takes, and I'm gonna come on, and I'm making sure the world knows. We got some comments here. I don't remember if I showed this or not, but I think I showed it on the screen just quickly. Brad needs to work on his social skills. Anthony adds in, I just finished Game Changers rewatch within 24 hours. We're not that fast. We should have just said, guys, we should have just stayed up 24 hours straight and did like a double.
How we did it back in COVID.
Ken's adds in, they did vote together for Malcolm. Thank you for saying that. Daryl adds in, Randy the idol hoarder. Yo, calling me out in the comments all day long. Yeah. And then also Ty made the right decision with the idol. And we're
I was right.
Will, they're on Will's side today. They're against me, and just everybody loves Cara, except for Sandra.
Except for Sandra. Or Sandra, as Tony would say.
With idols, I feel like there's ways, like, there's times when you should keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you should just be telling people, like, oh, I have an idol. Like, I think if you're going to tell people about it, you need to have a plan. You need to play it to your advantage. I think that's when you should tell people you have an idol, Not just being, like, finding it and being like, I have this.
Well, I think, like,
and then that's it.
A great example of that would have been Survivor 46. When I thought, like, I'm not saying you should never play your idol for someone. I think that Hunter should have 1,000% played his idol for Tevin to keep him in the game. That's your number one ally. And sure enough, Tevin leaves the game, and guess who leaves almost immediately after him? Hunter.
Like, play for himself.
That's the whole season, though. That was the entire season of, like, play your idol.
Survivor 46, idol hoarders.
What happened to them? They all hoarded their idols. They didn't say anything, and they all got voted out.
I was glad to be on that season. The original.
I told his tribe about the idol, and they were like, "We love you, Ty." Gave him a hug, and Malcolm went out. So, like,
Will, you know that Abraham would be very disappointed in how Ty played this idol.
Okay, but this is coming from a guy who did not survive a single tribal council.
Oh,
just saying. Put me on the island, Probes. I can survive. God damn. I love you.
I'm gagged. I'm gagged. Hey, Will, you better hope he doesn't see this, buddy. He called me today, by the way. Everybody, Abraham is doing amazing. He'll be back. Hopefully in the fall, unless he just hears Will and we just lost our Survivor correspondent.
Oh, my bad. Look,
we still got Nina. It's fine. We still got Nina. We will always have a Survivor correspondent. Knock on wood. Okay, Tribal Council, night 11. So Debbie points us out. Probes, I have two big questions heading into this Tribal Council. How is he voting? Or whatever she said. Oh, does he flip? Does she flip? And I thought that was very interesting for her to say, because that's exactly how this was playing out. It's like, who is actually going to stay tribe strong? Will, I know you've seen, obviously we've said it, you've seen this season before. Who would you have more faith in between Haley and JT? I know that I said that I think JT in this situation is a little bit more trustworthy, but who would you have had more faith in?
Yeah, I would have had more faith in JT and less faith. Oh, it depends where I'm at, right? Like, if I would put my cards with JT more and not Haley, but I feel like the opposite played out, which is also, like, extremely weird. This whole episode was weird. All right.
It was a strange episode. The pacing was weird and all that.
Yeah, but at the same time, too, it's like Ken's makes a great point. Like, JT has diarrhea of the mouth, man. He wins one season. Yes.
I don't think he does.
Like,
okay. we got to squash this beef. We got to squash
Let's squash the beef.
So we're gonna get right to it. All right. Cliff notes, however you want to say, clip notes. Culpepper threatens Haley. Haley wants to take out a physical threat. Says this is the time that we have to be taking out these physical players, which I don't necessarily agree with. But and then we get this live tribal where JT goes over to Culpepper. Hey, they're voting Sierra out. But this is my thing. Everybody's so mad at not Culpepper, at JT for spilling the beans, spilling the plan. He literally told them in a huddle, I told them we're voting Sierra, so we should vote Brad. That's why I'm not putting this on JT, because I think that is an incredible strategy. Brad is one of the, if you're going for a physical player, Brad is one of the most physical players in the game. He's the leader of the tribe. I think anybody should be able to see that. And I thought this was a magnificent play. Brad obviously has some trust with JT, and he's basically throwing his new tribe a bone here. He's throwing them a bone. I told him, Sierra, let's switch it to Brad. And then if they have the idol, they're going to play it for Sierra, and Brad can go home. This is not JT's fault, and I will die on this hill. I think it's everybody else on that tribe. I can't name them all right now, but it's Malcolm, it's Sandra, it's Varner. I think it's all their fault because the vote should have been going to anyone but Sierra because JT laid out this plan for you.
But JT also, backed his whole tribe into a corner the entire day. They're like, hey, JT, we should vote out Sierra or Brad. And JT was like, no, I want to do tie. They're like, come on, man, just let's not do tie this one time. He's like, all right, fine. And so when they go into tribal and JT goes to Brad and says, hey, they're voting Sierra, hoping his tribe would magically jump ship and be like, all right, JT is still with us, ruined our plan that we had in motion since before tribal. Let's just do JT's plan. I don't think that makes sense at all. And I get if they just switched their votes to Brad, everything would have been avoided. I get that idea, but at the same time, it did not happen, and I just don't think it would have happened. And I think it all could have been avoided had JT not said anything. I think that's why. I think it was the right intentions. I get what he was going for, but at the same time, it did not work out, and it overcomplicated the tribal council. Made it way too messy at the time, and I think that's why people blame JT, because it also kind of just railroaded Malcolm. Malcolm could have done nothing in that scenario, even though he should have been fine. That's my piece. What do you think? What do you think, Cara? Where are you?
That's right. Cara's in the middle here. She's been shaking her head to both sides.
Yeah, what you said, Randy, makes sense. Yeah, that would have been a great move. He tells him that, and then they go and they all flip their votes to Brad, and then Brad goes home. They waste the idol. That would have been great. But, why would they trust JT after he immediately got up, told them they were voting Sierra, comes back and tells them that I had told them this? Why? I don't see why they would have any trust in him at all.
No, a good point, but I think my biggest issue with all of this, excuse me.
So you don't even want to subconsciously you're coughing, you're trying to prevent yourself from saying this.
No, you know me, coughing just comes with me. I think, chronological cougher over here. Anyways, I think my biggest problem with this is whether you believe JT or not. There's a world where even if you don't believe JT, you can still say, okay, let's just vote tie, or let's vote anyone else but Sierra. JT literally told you, I told Brad that we're voting for Sierra. So you're telling me your brain goes, guys, I think we should still vote Sierra. That makes no sense. The guy, he literally told them we're voting Sierra. Why would you do that? Why would you?
How do you know that he told them that though? Maybe he told them, I'm jumping ship and voting with you. Who are you voting for? And also, we have Sandra saying they don't have an idol. She was like, they don't have an idol. Don't worry about it.
That's the only explanation.
Sandra.
That's the only explanation, is they were very confident that they did not have the idol. Because JT did say at one point in this episode, I think we should vote Ty. He's a big threat in this game. He can find idols. Frankly, I don't think anyone has found the idol so far. And although, look, this is season, what is this? Season 30, like 5? 34? God damn it. I had it right and I switched the 5 last night.
I know.
Season 34. It's night 11. You have to assume someone has found an idol at this point. At least someone has. Like, I don't want to say they're easy to find. They're not easy to find, but
they are.
Like, it's night 11. Someone surely has found an idol in a week and a half of playing the game.
Yeah, at the same time, too, it's like, do you think, if I was Brad, like, how much would I trust JT? Because it's been a while since I saw JT. You know, we might have been tight before, but it makes sense for JT to stick with his current drive. It does not make sense for JT to tell Brad any information. You know what I mean? So it's like, I can't blame any player for what for voting the way they voted, because it's like, why would Brad Culpepper believe JT after all this time? You know, like, I do think someone has an idol, but it's like, would someone use the idol on someone else? It's like Ty would, but would Brad Culpepper use the idol on someone else? Like, I don't know.
So both of you guys would have still voted Sierra. Just stick with the plan, even though JT told you, hey, I told them we're voting Sierra.
No, I would have avoided this whole thing entirely. I would have had JT tell Brad that, like, hey, brother, I don't want you to go, but it might be you. Banking on an idol play and then voting for Sierra. Because I feel like it's more believable that JT would try to be the hero and save Brad than JT's trying to save Brad's teammate. You know, like, you get what I'm going for? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like that would have been the better tip. You know, assuming JT lies brilliantly, Ty uses the idol on Brad, Sierra goes home, and Malcolm is in the game and then wins Survivor Game Changers. That's just me.
He goes all the way to win. I asked in the chat, I said, do you believe JT was in the wrong? We got a few comments here about it. Daryl says, nah, it's JT's fault. A tip is a tip. It's almost like snitches get stitches in this sense. Like, he did, even though he had a plan, he did snitch. Daryl adds in, I'm Team Will on this one. Then says, exactly, Cara, why would they trust him? And then comes back and says, actually, I'm man enough to admit that Randy is right. Don't vote for Sierra and don't assume someone doesn't have an idol. Kins then adds in, yes, because when I ask him, do you believe JT was in the wrong? Yes, because they ended up actually voting Sierra. I agree with Randy about how a fake out plan would have been smart, but he just put a huge target on his back with his own tribe. We can only assume that JT is public enemy number one. I also wanted to show this comment earlier from Kins. We need Randy on the show right now. Everybody wants to see me on the show just to see me go out first, and then they're going to allow it. That's what it. I'll be Brandon not being able to get up the ladder.
No.
That'll be me. But as my goal in life is to get on Survivor and become the next Jelinski and have Cara pick me to win and go out first. That's my goal.
My goal is to win. I ain't settling for first out. You kidding?
So Ty does get up. Ty gets up, places the idol around Sierra's neck. It says something like, I'm going to put this idol on this very pretty lady over here. Very nice and cordial as always, Ty. She gets up, plays it for herself. All the votes against her are negated, and this was a really fun editing. I'm sure not for Malcolm, but we see Sandra kind of go, who did they target? And then you saw Malcolm's name, and immediately Malcolm even made the comment in Tribal Council, if I get voted out, I'm going to be cussing and screaming as I walk off. And it was very visible that Malcolm was shocked, pissed, everything in between. Just watching, he didn't even look at his torch get snuffed. And I mean, guys, he has every right to. I would have been. I don't want to put myself in that situation because I think he actually handled it a lot better than I would have.
Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
not good.
I would have. I don't know, man. Like I play these online games, and I get put in situations where it's like I did nothing wrong, and I still get voted out, and I'm furious. Imagine me on Survivor, like starving on an island
Mhm.
just to lose. I'd be mad. Actually, fun fact about Malcolm saying I'm gonna be sick. That's a like a repeating line that both him and Denise have from Philippines and Cara. Like that's a repeat, like that's like a motif where it's like whenever something happens, they're always like, "Oh, I'm gonna be sick. I'm gonna throw up. I'm gonna vomit."
I didn't know that. This has been said multiple times.
Yeah. I don't. It's just like a catchphrase for them at this point. I think Eager Turtle, shout out to him, made a video of like callbacks when Winners at War was airing, and they mentioned. I think I could be wrong, but I always loved Malcolm. He's one of my favorite players of all time. I wear my clothes, I wear the Malcolm fits every day.
I'm very happy you're wearing clothes, Will.
Thank you.
I better never turn on a podcast and Will's just sitting like completely shirtless, no hat, nothing.
No hat. Not wearing a hat is shirtless.
I'm gonna vomit.
It's what he says, man.
Oh man, Cara, how far do we think Malcolm could have gone in this game if he didn't get screwed out here?
I feel like he would have gone at least to the merge.
Yeah. I definitely could have seen him going that far.
Yeah, I think he would have went far.
That was pretty much the episode. Like overall, like it was. I don't know. Do we want to say it was a filler episode? Because like there was important stuff. What did you say, Cara?
I said it was kind of boring.
It was like beginning of. That's why I was watching this and I was like, damn, Will and I hyped this up for Cara, and she probably watched the episode and she's like, if this is like
watch it twice. R.I.P. No, I feel like it's one of those episodes where it peaks with the tribal. I feel like the tribal council is always kind of like the ending of an episode. It's honestly, tribals are sometimes the most boring parts of the episode, especially when you know who goes home. I personally like watching the strategy play out. And I feel like tribals can be boring, especially when it's predictable. But I feel like this is the episode where you kind of have to watch it for the tribal, because I feel like nothing else because of the twist. Nothing else really matters. It's you have to wait until after the challenge to watch the tribes kind of play into the twist, and then watching that, and then watching the downfall. Like really, the episode becomes alive in the second half.
I think without the twist and without two challenges that were actually really exciting to watch, they both had comebacks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
This would have been an awful episode because they're just like the scenes that we were getting back at camp. Like we all want to see more camp lives and all that, but the scenes that we were getting, they weren't funny. They weren't like teaching us anything or showing us really anything or like letting us learn about the players. It was like very obvious that holy shit, they did not have enough for an hour. So they're like, we got to throw something in here to get this an hour episode, essentially.
I don't know, man. I think if one tribe went to tribal, would it have been Mana as the
it definitely, I think it would have been Mana. I want to say that partner would have got it and Mana would have gone. And I would have said that Haley would have Haley would have been gone.
But I feel like they would have leaned more into like it being predictable. So I think I feel like it would have set us up for more long-term gameplay. I feel like because again, the strategy did not matter until the twist was revealed. If this was a standard episode, I feel like it would have been edited differently, despite it being predictable.
Yeah,
that's just me though.
And we're all just a little bitter that our dear boy Malcolm has gone. This season continues to have amazing player after amazing player after amazing player leave the game. What can you expect from a season called Game Changers? And all the players are, big Survivor legends, whatever. Most of them are. A few comments before we leave. Kins adds in, I feel like I sat there for an hour and got nothing out of it. I mean, it was that kind of episode. You had like a lot of moments that didn't really mean anything, and then you get to the ending, and you're like, I all that for Malcolm to go home? What? Daryl adds in, Malcolm could have made it far. He would have been a challenge threat. Daryl, some tribals are good and some aren't. It's like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're gonna get. And Daryl adds in, rip Malcolm Survivor life. Darn you, Survivor gods. Could Malcolm, last question before we log off here, could Malcolm come back for season 50?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You think?
Yep.
You think
I
he's
think
good standing and everything?
Yeah, Malcolm, like less now because a lot of seasons have passed, but like Malcolm was a fan favorite. When Cara happened, I don't. How much do y'all know about Cara? Randy, I know your favorite player's on it, but
yeah, I'm a little biased towards it because my favorite player's on it.
But I like the favorites tribe of Cara, especially at the time, was kind of weak, right? Like Francesca was kind of a meme. Corin was kind of a weird pick. Philip, I think, got a lot more love down the line. Brandon Hance was a weird pick. And then like Andrea, just Redemption Island on Andrea was kind of a weird pick. Same with like John Cochran. Like the big favorites were like Brenda, Eric, and Malcolm. And so plus Malcolm's story in Philippines, I won't spoil it because I recommend Cara to watch it.
Don't spoil it.
I won't spoil it. But Cara, when you watch Philippines, let me know because it is one of my ultimate favorite seasons. But yeah, no. I think he can 120% come back. Yeah, that's just me.
No, I mean, Cara, what do you think? You think he could come back?
I think so. I don't see why not.
No,
I think definitely.
Yeah, I would like to see him back. I would definitely like to see him come back for season 50. But yeah, I think we covered everything, I'm pretty sure. So if you guys, again, are watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on Spotify, leave us a rating. We greatly appreciate it. It helps us get the show out there. We will be... Drop the pen, my bad. We will be right back here next Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, to cover episode 4 of Survivor Game Changers. And we will see you guys then. Thanks for joining, guys.